How old is he now?
She is
She.
a year and a
Oh
couple
yeah,
year
that's
and some
right.
change.
I think it was the rugby photo that you posted, and I was
Oh
like,
yeah, dude.
"That's pretty swag, man."
She's got a personality and she's walking around and she's starting to say words. Uh, Started with no, obviously, because she's a
Yeah,
strong Latina woman. Um, but
but I mean,
yeah,
what's
it's
you're in what? Like she's more than a year now,
yeah,
obviously.
no, she's 17 months. Yeah.
17 months.
Yeah, so it's a
You're
year
still
and
in the
some change. No, no, I tell people a year and some change, and then they say, "Oh, what does that mean?" It's like, "Oh, it's
yeah,
a
yeah,
year
yeah,
and
yeah.
change."
But
Not quite a year.
so
No.
what are your first cheers? What are
No.
your first now that you're 17 months in? What surprised you about being a dad? What did you feel like? I pretty much knew that was going to be the case.
Well, what surprised me is how easy it is to transition into fatherhood. I
That's
was
surprising.
yeah, I was just I read books and stuff, but not too many books, like an overreader or something. But I found myself kind of overwhelmed with the
What to
notion of
expect
fatherhood.
when you're expecting to freak the fuck out or some shit.
Yeah, yeah. And then like all the men's resources are just kind of like, or they're expecting dad resources are just laughably stupid. So like during the pregnancy, there was this app. It was like the dad app, and then the
The
information
dad
provided to
app.
me on the dad. Yeah, I was like, what the hell is it called? It's called like the hike or something, but it was like lumberjack themed. It was just absurd. And so like it would refer to like the fetus as like, oh, you're little. It would try to manly up terms, kind of like this false like machismo thing. It's like, no, dude, I want to know what's going on scientifically in my
But
wife's
like
stomach.
what? Give an example.
Um, oh, fuck. The I
They're so stupid you can't remember them.
Yeah, it slips my mind now. It's like if you'd like have a high school boy write about what to write about the gestational maternal the gestational periods. It is just absolutely dumb. And so like I just wound up downloading the same app that my wife did, which is way more informative because it gave you more information about developmental milestones and you use like adult terms as opposed to like your little guy's growing. He's about the size of a chigger. It's like, oh, I don't, it's such
Damn, you
relevant
went
term.
deep with
You
that
know?
fucking impersonation, man. Shit, chiggers. Fuck.
Yeah, yeah. So the transition into fatherhood was you hype yourself up initially, but then you hold the kid, and it's this crazy, weird, like
I mean, describe it. How did you
instinctual.
feel?
Yeah, I'm trying to use words here. Uh, uh, you instantly get this wave of nurturing. The first instinct, the first thought I had when I held her was like, oh, nothing else matters, and I will kill for this thing. And so it's this weird,
Wow.
just God damn it. Uh,
Primal.
yeah, primal. I was gonna say evolutionary. Yeah, it's a primal instincts kick in, and you're on autopilot. It's fucking crazy.
That's crazy.
And then so like
Congratulations.
you don't mind, like so you hear about the sleep deprivation, and then all of a sudden you find yourself waking up at 3 in the morning and not giving a shit, and just like getting on with your day, and it's flips a switch in your head, and it's interesting to. I'm sure my brother and his wife are expecting, and so I'm kind of observing his
Wow,
evolution
that's interesting.
right now. And they're due in I think September, and so I was trying
You're gonna be
to
like, oh, that's
when
the
I was
face I made.
yeah I was like, oh, I did this and I did this and I did that. All right, so well, yeah. So anyway, that's it. Fatherhood's great so far. We're trying to raise her right. We're speaking Spanish to her. We're still sending her to this little Mexican lady to do the raising for us, just like our parents did. Uh,
Oh, really? Like for real?
yeah.
I mean, how'd you swing that? I mean, is it? How'd you find
What?
this old Mexican lady?
Um, my mother-in-law happened to know one. You know, any lawyer in
I'm sure they're
Milwaukee,
not in
I'm
the
sure
fucking phone book. You know what I mean?
has access to just a random old Mexican lady. But she's fantastic. She speaks Spanish to her. Uh, she's got like two other kids, and it's just great to just ensure that she's getting some sort of Mexicanity that
Why? Because she's not gonna get it from you.
I try to provide as much as I can, right? But I think there's
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
I'm only so Mexican, right?
I'm only so Mexican, man. I'm only one Mexican.
Like,
Well, that's a good
don't.
that's a good segue to Milwaukeño.
Milwaukeño.com. Yeah.
So I
Uh,
went to the site and what
it's growing.
the first entry is kind of springs off of the whole Super Bowl Shakira and J-Lo performance. And I mean,
that was rewritten.
when you saw that, were you already launching? You were already launching, right?
That was shoehorned in. So the idea for Milwaukeño started in 2017, and so the Who Are We kind of article was actually written in 2017 terms. And so the J-Lo Super Bowl thing was actually Cassian Andor from Star Wars. So it was Diego Luna's character in Star Wars, that one movie. Did you see it?
No, yeah, I saw the name in the entry, and I was like, the post, obviously.
Yeah,
and I was like, well, who the I'm gonna have to look up that name later.
Yeah, so it was just like
I have seen the movie.
It was an unapologetic Mexican playing a Mexican, fully accented and everything.
Yeah.
And then so we tried to start it in 2017, but it went nowhere because the partner that I had at the time that I was trying to launch it with, we kind of just didn't click correctly, and we didn't really get our ducks in order as we wanted to. So recruiting was an issue, and it still kind of is.
Yeah.
But he's very well connected in Milwaukee's Latino community. He's a producer at Telemundo, so he knows all the right people. So this is kind of like a good entry. So we decided in 2017 that we're just gonna. It just fizzled. It was weird. And so a couple months back, I said, hey, let's just try to pick this up again. Because there was some upswing. There was a lot of talk about that the J-Lo thing happened. And I forgot what happened. It was a really specific weird thing. It must have been something Trump said or something. It was kids in cages. It was a traumatic thing. It was like, fuck, I'm a brown guy here in Milwaukee, and I know there's other brown kids right now experiencing some similar shit. So, and I still, it had been since 2017, and I still hadn't seen anything similar to like what Gozamos was for that Chicago community here. So I said, fuck it, man. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off and get it sorted. And we'll just, get running. We'll recruit. And so we're currently still in the recruiting phase, in the ramp-up phase. But, yeah. So we want to be a resource, not necessarily, a resource for Latino people of a certain age to go.
I think the word you used in the post was a guide to Latino culture.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and the thing that surprised me in that first post was that there's 375,000 Latinos in Wisconsin. I mean,
Southeast Wisconsin, yeah.
Southeast Wisconsin.
Yeah, so it's the urban parts, the parts that the rest of the state really has despised for. So they don't care much for the WOW counties, they call it, so Waukesha, Ozaukee. Those are the direct suburban rings, and then beyond that, it's just what you would imagine Wisconsin is. So it's rural, it's heavily white. There are some Latino enclaves in the various parts of Wisconsin, but those are generally just the migrant workers that work on the dairies and that work on the farm.
Right. The forgotten workers, man. We always forget that those people. We assume. I don't know. Sometimes in your mind you think like, oh, dairy farmer. You think of that image of the the old 50-something white man with the
some guy
baseball
called Jeb
cap on, and fucking overalls and shit. No, it's a fucking Mexican guy or a Guatemalan guy.
Yeah, it's a brown person just down there doing all the dirty work, so Jeb could get his government check for not growing shit on his land.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading about speaking of Wisconsin, I was reading about what the fucking Supreme Court did, basically disenfranchising poor black and brown Wisconsinites. Basically. Yeah. Basically, what was it? Okay, so what was the issue? Explain it. I mean, something like they weren't giving people enough time to get their absentee ballots because obviously people wanted to do absentee ballots because of coronavirus.
Earlier in the election cycle, the Republican-controlled legislative body voted to cap or to minimize the amount of time that the time period in which they would release absentee ballots or allow absentee ballots. And so in the midst of the coronavirus uproar. The governor who the
An
governor
uproar, really? That's a fucking understatement. A little,
here's
a little hubbub, a little,
I use a bit of a kerfuffle.
a little row.
I use COVID-19 so many times a day because
I don't think I've ever said it out loud. COVID-19. That's probably the first time I've said it out loud. I say coronavirus or that Rona.
Fuck that. I mean, I like that Rona. I like it's colloquial. I like that Jesus Mero call it that Rona. But I can't. I'm on the corporate communications team right now.
You can't be saying that Rona.
So I can't give daily Rona updates. I've got to keep it as corporate as possible. And I feel like I've been working for 5 weeks straight at this point. But so I've used it so many times. So I think I could use that uproar. So when this whole shit kicked, when the world started ending and the sky started falling, Tony Evers, the governor, or is it Evers, proposed an extension of absentee ballot reception period. And that was kind of just a mandate that he proclaimed with gubernatorial rights, or what's the term for the power of the governor. He tried to use that to push this forward, and then it was shot down. The Republicans threw a hissy fit and took it to the Supreme Court to fight it, and then.
But it went like back and forth, right? Like. They would say, the Democrats are okay. They would decide for the Democrats, then it would go up another level. They would decide for the Republicans, then it would go up another level. They decide for the Democrats, and then it went to the Supreme Court and decided for the Republicans.
Yeah.
So it's sure completely partisan.
Oh, absolutely. Even our Supreme Court or our state courts are partisan, which is fucking insane.
Oh, yeah, they're right. They're Republican, right? And they're like trying to sabotage the Democratic governor.
Mm-hmm. Damn. Luckily, so we had our election, as I'm sure the whole world knows, last Tuesday, and the results came in on Monday. And surprisingly, we got 2 Walker appointees were taken out of office, and then that main Trump supporter guy, I think Kelly, who actually responded to the Milwaukeño questionnaire to the candidates.
Was he the first one, the manager, right? What do you guys call him? City manager or city executive or something? Was he the first guy who responded?
No. That was Chris Larson. He was a good guy. He lost. But there's he's a chief Supreme Court Justice Kelly, former Supreme Court Justice Kelly, just lost to Jill Karkovsky. She's a super liberal justice, and it's taking some momentum, and you're seeing a swing left finally after this gridlock of Koch-funded libertarian playground shit. That's really fucking the state up. So the election yielded some positive results insofar as there's some nice long-term ramifications as a result of those court nominations. And so I think the reason the Republicans were really pushing for the election because court seats were up.
Right.
And as we all know, the Republican playbook is pack the courts. And so the way the court system's set up here, it's judges are elected, so it lends itself to this partisanism, which is obviously the name of the game these days. So
which is the whole reason why judges shouldn't be elected, right? I mean, that was the idea.
Yeah. But
I mean, how do you see Wisconsin going in November? I mean,
I was actually surprised, but perhaps it's because I'm in this bubble that Biden took Wisconsin, and I think the Marquette poll has Biden winning against Trump in a head-to-head.
Well, did Sanders win? No, Sanders won Michigan, right? He didn't win Wisconsin against Hillary.
Sanders won Michigan. No. Sanders. I thought Sanders was going to take Wisconsin, but as I mentioned, it's probably because I'm in this liberal bubble where I just assume that all of my super lefty friends represent the entire world.
Yeah. It's hard to fight that too. I mean, you try to have an open mind, and but that bubble. I mean, you only see what you see. You can only hear what you hear. You're only one Mexican.
Exactly.
You're only so Mexican, man.
Exactly. That's a great Cuba jersey, by the way. Is that Cuba?
No, it's Honduras, man.
Oh, the H is for Cuba? It's for Havana?
Oh, is that what you're thinking? Oh, that'd be sweet.
No,
nice.
I thought it was Cuba.
I didn't get it because my name's Hector or anything. I didn't, I just saw it. I bought this in Honduras in Tegucigalpa. Fucking slaughtered that name. Tegu, whatever he says. But
I think the last time we spoke as well.
What's up?
I think you were wearing that last time we spoke as well.
Oh, really? That's interesting. I was trying to pick something that, because, the background, they say don't wear white or some shit. And I realized that everything I own is like fucking light colored, I got some manly peaches in there and I got a lot of white, but anyways. I mean, so talk about recruiting. I mean, are you actively recruiting for Milwaukeño? Because like,
yeah, we are.
How do you go about that? Because that's tough. That's the hardest thing. With I have Enclave, and it's really hard to say. It's really hard to get people to come write for you. Shit.
Exactly. and especially when you're asking them to volunteer and say, we'll pay an exposure. Which
and you want good content. It's not like you're saying like you're not like going under fucking underpasses. I mean, hey, what's that thing you scribbled in shit? Can I publish that?
You got some tent for me. So recruiting has been really tapping into Sal's contacts. He knows a lot of people in the arts and a lot of people who are more exposed to the more kind of liberal activism in Milwaukee. And that's kind of been our main drawing point. And for me, it's been one-off random brown people I've met.
Wait, who's Sal? Sal who?
Sal's my partner in this endeavor. Sal Gomez. Good guy.
What's that? Okay, I saw the eye flicker, but okay. I mean, is there tension? I mean, tension's always good. I mean, me and shout out to Marlena. Me and Marlena launched Enclave, and we're very different personalities, but we kind of agree on this. You have to have that tension, that creative tension, right?
Well, I don't see creative tension actually. It's just he's the kind of person that you can know and you can talk to and not really know.
Those people are so interesting, and you only realize it after a few weeks or a few months, where you're like, I've been talking to this person every day or every other day, and I really don't know anything about them. Yeah,
I've never been to this person's house. I've never shared a drink with this guy. Which it is what it is, but it's purely professional. It's doing what it's got to do, and so in order to try to like get more recruiting up and to get more interactions up, I think it's really important to create a community and to create a community space for contributors to meet and see who their competition is and see who their not so much competition, but see who their compatriots are, people who think similar to them. And I think thinking back to the Los Amos days, that was accomplished great because we had a physical meeting space.
Yeah.
And standing Tuesday and Thursday meetings, which I think is great because that's how you build a community. You make people hang out together. So with that in mind, I set up a weekly recurring Skype call because this all coincided with the Rona thing. So I've been basically just begging people to come to these meetings and talk about stuff and try to get fun content problems out there and tell your friend type situation.
But really it was kind of the same thing at Ghost Almost. Like, we'd go through periods where we were super creative, super productive, and then other times we're like,
drought.
But it's tough, man. It's tough to. I mean, you find that I think we were all young too, so that's young people will do anything, if it's fun, and we feel like we're contributing and we feel like we're changing the world, right? But like now you're not, you and I, we've been through the ringer. You probably got stories. You'd always have stories for me, and like now it's like are you recruiting young people? Are you recruiting people your age? I mean. I have now two people who are writing for me who are like in their 50s, I think, which is, incredible. Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. Now, I found that a lot of our contributor pool is roughly my age at this point. So kind of professionals in their 30s. But I did just recruit a young lady who's going to write about brujeria stuff for us. She's in college, which I think is fantastic. Yeah. I think the lifeblood of one of these types of organizations or one of these types of wannabe movement things is the involvement of young people.
That's kind of the point I fucking explained it sloppily.
And it's hard. And it's hard not to be not to see yourself. Maybe I'm just very self-aware. It's like, how do I not come across looking like a creep?
Yeah.
Saying, hey, college kids, you want to come write?
You got this van, you want to come write?
You guys like content? Want to come to a party?
No, but that's what I meant about the young people. Like you're young, so you're being exposed to ideas every fucking day, and you're excited about what you're learning about, and so you want to express it either through artistically or through writing, which is also an art. But so that's what I was, you know. And but then when you're in your 30, and then you think also that expressing it will change the world, and maybe it will, maybe we did, maybe Gosamos did, you know. I mean, if you think about it, if you look back, like that area was there, that happened, that, you know, shout out to Abe and all of them, like that was actually there, made a difference.
Yeah,
because I think people saw us doing that, and they were like, "Oh wow, this is part of Chicago. This is part of Pilsen. This is part of what people are doing."
Yeah. It definitely created a groundswell. And I know they were supposed to have the 10-year anniversary party on the 28th, but obviously I don't think it happened.
Right. I remember, shout out to Abe. I remember, he's probably not going to want me to tell this story, but we were when it was like Beauty Bar. Remember Beauty Bar open? And we had that party at Beauty Bar. And what was her name? Suzuka Poderosa performed, remember?
Oh,
that girl?
Yeah, that was fantastic.
The Asian, she was hot too, but she was good. She was a good rapper and everything. I loved her music. Yeah. I would listen to her music after that. But she was hot. Huh? What's up?
I still follow her on Instagram.
Oh yeah, I should follow her. Anyways, and then me and Abe got wasted, but Abe got wasted. I found him like leaning up against the fucking wall in the bathroom against the urinal. I'm like, "Hey, you okay?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm good, man. You having fun?"
Yeah.
We had a fucking blast, you know, but we were, you know, it was hard work, you know, and Abe did, you know, he did all the fucking website shit, but like, you know, and we must have been annoying the fuck out of him, but it was fun, and, you know, we partied hard, you know. I mean, remember the fucking parties at Gosamos?
We had a fucking art gallery, dude. That was exciting.
It was an art gallery / fucking like community hangout place, right? Like we would have, you guys would we'd have live performances, all kinds of shit, you know. We were always thinking of new things of what to do with the space, obviously, because we needed to fucking come up with rent money, right? But you know, invention is the mother of necessity, or necessity is the mother of invention, right? So it led us to do a lot of creative shit.
Mm-hmm. Take risks, and so So now at our old age, our ripe old ages, what are you doing to find? How are you keeping Enclave going? How are you growing it? What are you doing to engage your writers to?
It's tough,
actively
man.
Pursue leads and take creative risks.
After Trump got elected, and I think I've talked about this, but after Trump got elected, like, well, one, I came out here, and, you know, my wife makes good money, and we live out here, and we live in like this retirement community, and everything's great, you know, house and pool and shit like that. And so I was like, well, you know, okay, well, why write? Relax, you know, relax. You know, I was reading a lot of fucking philosophy, which you shouldn't do. Because then I was like, what's the meaning of this? What's the meaning of that? What am I struggling towards? You know what I mean? Anyways, I stopped writing, so it got hard to convince other people to write when you don't see the need to write. But anyways, now that I'm writing, now I'm in this like Buddhist place where I just write and meet people through writing and meet people through the podcast. And if they write and we vibe, then I go say, hey, write for fucking Enclave. That's pretty much it. Because I don't know who I would find out here in Vegas. I mean, I talked to some people, but writing community, there's nothing like. I mean, I guess I should, but there's nothing. It's not like Chicago, man. You know, Chicago has neighborhoods. I mean, Milwaukee has neighborhoods, right? Where like different, you go for different things. There's nothing like that in Vegas, really. It's just a strip and then suburbs all around. And so it's weird. It's weird, you know. And so that was hard. That was hard. Coming from Chicago to this.
How do you meet? Do you know anyone that's 25?
Yeah. Why would I know anybody who's 25? I mean, I know somebody who's I think she's in her 30s. But I don't know. I mean, I know people who are 25, but they're my in-laws, right?
Right. No. Like just like in the wild.
No, not in the why. Why would I? Why would I know them, right?
Yeah. That's where I find myself.
Yeah.
Where do I find these passionate 20-somethings that are into the idea more than I am? I mean, because obviously I'm into it. I went to the trouble of starting this because I want to attract people to it.
What is the idea? What is your vision for Milwaukeño?
My vision is to be the end-all and be-all for Latino media that's not necessarily in Spanish. For people similar to me, which I kind of think is like what the Gosama's ethos started as. It's kind of just brown kids who didn't see themselves in the media too much. People who didn't fit in the cholo or the maid stereotype, but still identified as being Latino, right?
Right.
And so it was easier to identify that community, or even get plugged into that community in Chicago because, well, it circles back to Bubbles, right? And so apart from that, I started reading more into the political situation here, and started looking for vowels in candidate names. You know what I mean? And I saw exactly
that. Do I? I like how you put that too. You know what I mean? Keep going.
Yeah, I know. I found that it was rather lacking. And so my eventual goal with this is to, I want to start a PAC to encourage brown folks to run for office. Because, look, there's obviously a groundswell of us, and we're always growing, but we are the least represented minority in this entire state.
Yeah. Well,
I think there's...
In the country, right? I mean...
Oh, in the country in general. And seeing as I live here now, I figured I may as well try to make a difference where I am. So that's the seedy underbelly of what Milwaukeño is actually about. But at the same time, I'd like to see more representation of the arts, more representation of just the fun shit that Latinos are doing.
Changing the world through art. Well, I remember we had that cheesy fucking line at Gosama's artivism. Right? Artivism, right? Which I've seen other people use. I've since seen other people use, but it's very rare. But
it's fucking cheesy.
But it is cheesy, but you believe in it, and I believe in it.
Yeah. I mean, there's no other way to
talk about that. Talk about that. You believe in this cheesy fucking thing. How do you? Because you're a guy, dude. You fucking know, like that. What the one side looks at the other side like art's gonna change the world. Get the fuck out of here, man. What the fuck are you talking about? Yeah. So I mean, why do you think art can change the world? What do you think? What do you think about Latinos expressing themselves will change give them political power eventually? That's what you're talking about.
So yeah, I see art as a means of representation. So a piece of art, a song, a novel, a painting can transcend the community in which it was created. Right, so we look at this resurgence of Frida Kahlo, for instance. So yes, she was a Mexican painter, but her art spoke to more people than just Mexicans. But when they see this painting or when they see this piece of artwork, they're forced to reflect upon the creator of that piece. And so they're forced to think about the life of Frida Kahlo. They're forced to think about Mexicans. They're forced to think about the Mexican
forced to think about Mexicans. Right? That's what it comes to. Because nothing forces them to think about Mexicans.
Yeah, because who are we? We're the fucking background. We're wallpaper. We're the maid. Especially in this fucking city. We're not even your alderman.
Wow. I mean, so you think, but.
So I think that creating a space, creating that third space for Latinos will create kind of like a think tank. It'll create a space for creation. It'll be an arts hub. It'll be a representation hub. It'll be somewhere where we can find our voice. And when we have our voice, we also have our megaphone. So you want to be the prosopone.
Have you been watching that new show on Netflix? Sorry, this is a bad fucking segue, but...
Sorry.
I think Rocio was watching. There's a show on Netflix, a Latino show. It's called I don't know. No. Somebody will tell me, but it's.
I've been watching Babylon Berlin, which is a fantastic show.
No, you know what it is. I only I mean, she's watching it. I think she liked it. I mean, somebody will know. It's this new Latino show on Netflix. It's called Hentified.
Oh.
Have you watched it?
No, I haven't seen it. What, Narcos or Hentified?
Hentified.
I have not seen it yet.
Why?
But
I mean, let's talk about that, right? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. You and I come from, Gozamos, like Latino culture, blah, blah, blah. But I'm not going to watch Hentified. I'm not going to watch Viva from Showtime, right? I've seen a few episodes. I didn't like it. I don't like when people drop the word familia in a sentence that doesn't need it.
God, same here. Oh my
you know what I mean? Like, I'm Latino, but I don't drop the word familia in a word. I just don't. You can tell. And I'm very Latino, so, I'd rather watch crime documentaries.
Yeah. Some 35-year-old white guy wrote this and said, what do Latinos say?
Right.
Oh, they like using Spanglish. Yeah, let's do that.
You know what? No. What pisses me off more, what makes me sadder, is that it was a Latino. It was a young Latino who thinks that
to speak their language.
Right. They're putting Latinos, that they're proud of it, right? Latinos are finally, being represented, and they're proud of that. And I guess they are, right? I guess they are. But I guess I'm thinking too far ahead, and I need to be happy with what we have now, what the gains we're having now. But I'm thinking too far ahead. I'm like, I don't like this fucking pandering bullshit, familia bullshit, frijoles. Don't talk to me about that shit.
I'm on the same page. My favorite Latino character in the history of television was probably Desi Arnaz.
Yeah. No, I know exactly where you're coming from.
Because he was just a fucking guy. He was just a guy. It wasn't,
his Cubanness came up sometimes. Sometimes, and peripherally. Like, had nothing to do with anything.
He was just a big band instructor, a big band orchestra guy. So, I think that's where we need to be.
Well, it being the 50s, he was the man of the house, and he was the rational one. Lucy was the crazy one. She was the silly one. She was the foil. He was like the serious person. Even though he had his accent was sometimes the butt of the joke, but even then it had nothing. It wasn't like vicious. It was just, it's a funny accent. Even Latinos know it's a funny accent.
Yeah. And I feel like
exactly what you mean.
Since then we've digressed. Since then we were all familia, and we have these fucking. I remember I have a Hulu subscription, so every so often they'd advertise this show about East Los High School.
Yeah. East Los High, I think it's called it, right? Or East High or something like that.
I've never seen an episode, and it looked fucking stupid, because it just reeked of this like, oh, we're familia, and oh my god, and
people who hear that, and I agree. I agree with you, but people who hear that, they're going to say that East High or East Los High, whatever the fuck it's called. I think it's called East Los High. It's actually a very popular show, and it has like pretty well-known people in it. But I agree. I've never seen it. I'm not going to see it.
I don't need to be pandered to. I'm in the club already.
Right. Or like,
it's not like... Here's the situation. We're both the assholes complaining about representation.
I mean, don't we have a right to complain about the nature or the way that representation is portrayed? That's what I'm complaining about, right? That's what you're complaining about.
Which is kind of what I get to when I say I kind of want to see. I want a space for Latinos like me. All right, so yeah, I'm Latino.
But isn't that Are you afraid that that's too far ahead? Are you afraid that's too far ahead? Because we're waiting for the day when we're just seen as a regular man, regular person who happens to be Latino. Oh, that's interesting. You're different the way this person's Irish. Oh, that's interesting. But it's not like the end all and be all of what and who and the way I operate. Like you're Latino. Yeah. You talk about familia. Oh wow, like
yeah, exactly. I think actually the last Latino-centric show I think I watched that wasn't actually a show that took place in Mexico or in some Spanish language country. I tried to watch this Mayans MC, which was it's a motorcycle club in Southern California, a bunch of Mexicans. I think I got through 2 episodes, 2 or 3, and I was like, maybe, but it still kept falling into these tropes. It still kept falling into this.
Really? I was going to say.
Because it was written by Kurt Sutter, who's the same guy that wrote Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah.
So at the same time, it's this white dude telling our story, so it's a white guy writing for a bunch of Latinos.
Yeah.
And
he paints Latinos the way he sees them. I mean, he can't help but see them. It's the same thing about what you're talking about. Like, you live in that bubble, that liberal bubble, so you thought everybody was going to go for Bernie, right? It's the same thing, really, right? Like, that's why I don't blame white people for not knowing, like, about Latinos, like being awkward with it or being awkward with race or ethnicity in general. Like, I mean, I get that. I get it. But, you know, like, I have a problem with people who don't want to know about Latinos, you know, and black people, and they don't want to know about other cultures in general. But, like, that they're clueless about certain things. That's fine. I get it. I'm clueless about. I mean, that's the other thing. That's one thing that we resent is that we know a lot about white culture because we have to, right?
Right? We exist in that world. Yeah.
But I think James Baldwin said something like that, like that black people just know way more about white people. Like they know more about white people than white people know about themselves, right? Because they have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's the same thing now with Latinos. We know a lot about white people, especially people like you and me. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about this kind of person, right?
Let's rewind this back. So you said, and now the Latinos, as if we're fresh to this.
Right.
A quarter of this, maybe a quarter is too generous. Most of this country used to be a fucking Latino country.
I live in Nevada.
So the fact you live in Mexico.
I live in Las Vegas. Yeah, Las Vegas.
So yeah.
I see the wheels turning. I know what you mean.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess the fact that the Latinos are erased in general, and we went from. I don't know.
But that to me, I've thought about that, like things like that, you know, like that. For the average white person to understand racism, you'd have to teach them about slavery. You would have to teach them about Jim Crow, and they're not going to learn that. They don't fucking care about what happened even 50 years ago. But you have to know that in order to understand what's happening now, understand the conditions now, the relationships now. Yeah. Like you're saying, that I live in Mexico. I live in what was once Mexico, that United States stole more than half of Mexico. I mean, you hear that, people hear that, but they don't really, it doesn't get in.
Yeah, and they still live in a neighborhood in Los Angeles called Los Feliz. Los Feliz, hijo de puta madre. It's in Spanish.
No, well, in Nevada, this is why I think I said this on Latino Rebels, but like, I wrote it for Gozamos, like, because Trump came and he said, it's Nevada, it's Nevada, it's not Nevada, it's Nevada. And Nevadans got mad because they say it's officially pronounced Nevada. And so I wrote, no, it's Nevada. It's a Spanish word. You're not going to tell me, you're not going to conquer land and then tell me how to pronounce the way you pronounce its name.
Yeah.
That's fucking, you know? And so it is Nevada. It is Nevada. You can say Nevada. But to say that, people here who are from Nevada who are going to hear this, they're going to get pissed. They're like, no, it's Nevada. It's the way I think in my head. Way I've always thought it was. That's the way it is. And so we have to deal with those people. And they're not just Republican. Yeah. They're not just Democrat. They're everything. So you have to deal with those people. And so you and I are trying to be represented the way we are. Mm-hmm. Which is in such a nuanced way, in such a in our complexity, right? But we're simple people, right? But the way we want to be understood is so much more complex than the average person is able or willing to do.
I think it's willing. It's a willingness. It's not an ability. This hasn't been beaten out of me by society yet, but I do think that people are able to comprehend these things. People are able to get minutia. People can memorize 15 Shades of Green, but to tell a Guatemalan from a Mexican, or
I tell my wife all the time, like, all these fucking novelas, everything about the Kardashians, right? Their whole history, everything that's happened. I'm like, it's the same thing with history, because she hates history, right? Mm-hmm. She hates politics, and people are like that, right? Like, everything about the Kardashians, but you don't know everything about, like, I try to tell her, history's like a novella. It's just, instead of characters, there are countries, and that's it.
Yeah. There's some pretty nefarious ones in this one.
But when the system, what I meant to say is that when the system's so powerful, right? The system of distraction, the system of give them gadgets, give them bullshit to watch, because bullshit is junk food, right?
Kardashians. Yeah.
I mean, everybody would want a steak, but if you can have a fucking bag of chips right now, you take it, right? And that's the problem. That's what you and I are working against, right?
Mm-hmm. So we're selling a steak to chip eaters. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. That's what Milwaukeño is. That's what Enclave is, right? It's because we're not willing to be like, here at Milwaukeño somos familia.
Yeah.
Like you're just not willing, and it's not that you're ashamed of the Spanish or anything like that, but it's you want to speak as authentically yourself, who you are, as possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you want a space to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But you're
and
not.
I want to provide a space, and here's the thing. So I don't.
And then you want to sell it.
That.
That's the problem, right?
And so here's how you sell it. You say, well, that's my opinion, but at the same time, you also have a similar experience. You have your opinion, and this is a space for you to do that too.
Right.
If you want to be Mr. Familia and I do agree. Spanglish all the time because that's lo mejor, then fuck it. This is your space too, because ultimately your representation matters.
I mean, I don't even have like a uniform editorial policy like with like colons or what we do with what do we capitalize or whatever the fuck you want to do. As long as I can read it and it's good, I'll publish it.
Yeah. For me, it's just no hate speech, please.
Right. No, don't be
single
smart.
Editorial policy.
I mean, you can hate somebody, but you better be smart with it.
Yeah. Don't. Come on. No.
I mean, and so what I meant to say is that there's always pressure to like make this podcast Latino. Make Enclave more Latino.
How can you make this Latino? Have you looked in a fucking mirror?
Right.
That's as Latino as you need to be.
Right. I'm as Latino as I can be. I'm only one Latino.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's what it is, right? Like you have to keep, and I'm going to say this, it's to other Latinos, right? It's not white people really. It's Latino, and you have to get the nod from other Latinos so that they boost you up, and then they vouch for you. The mainstream Latino-ness vouches for you, and then you become a success.
Right.
Or you seem to disagree in some way.
No. I think that's a pretty accurate assessment of that ladder, that hierarchy, right? Yeah.
And that's tough. No, but that's tough because, like, I mean,
how much of that is like you and I being kind of raised in situations where hyper Latino-ness wasn't really a thing.
A very unique and special milieu, right? You're talking about like how most people, a typical Mexican in America probably grows up in a Mexican enclave, right? Where especially in a city, right?
Yeah.
Where all the shops are Mexican, everybody's Mexican, everybody at church is Mexican, everything's Mexican.
We all have our shtetls, yeah.
And but I grew up in a place where there was Mexicans and black people and Indians and all kinds of different immigrants, Russians, Polish, and so I hung out with all kinds of people.
Right, and that's the benefit of just life in Chicago, life in a big city. We weren't first generation, or I'm pretty sure you're not first generation.
No. My mom was born in Honduras. My dad was born in Chicago, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
there's questions I've never asked my dad. There's questions I've never asked my mom. I want to have her on the podcast, which is going to be tough because me and my mom are like oil and water. But there's just things that now that I'm getting to a certain age, I want to. And you probably pass this now that you have a kid, right? I've heard that when you have a kid, you want to know, okay, where the fuck do I come from? What's going into this kid? But yeah, there's things about my past, like where my dad was born. I'm sure he was born in Chicago, but
But here's the thing. So yeah, we've got these foreign parts race in this very monoculture society. And for a lot of people, the fact
you
that
play
we don't
rugby.
have accents
Let's put that out there.
Right?
You are a rugby fanatic, right? I mean, that's not a typical Mexican thing, right? But hey, I love it. I love it.
I do follow the Mexican national team on Twitter. They're pretty good.
Yeah, of course. Well, the rugby team?
Yeah, they're a good follow. They're not a good team, but
no, but so that's, and I think that's interesting, right? But that's also, I know from my own experience that you probably didn't. How were you with other Mexicans when you were a kid? I mean, did they accept you? Did you feel completely accepted, or did you feel like visiting?
I felt like an outsider looking at it.
I felt the same way.
Yeah, so I even have really close friends who were raised, I guess, more Mexicanly than I was. And I'd see their families as just being completely different than ours because it's a different culture. It's a different culture within one culture, right? So yeah, we didn't do the whole posada thing. We didn't do all these traditional things that I always find myself just like looking in and saying, "Oh, what's that? Why are you guys doing that?" And it was strange to do it within my own culture, right? Because I was kind of raised by people who were raised to be all about being an American, or at least my mom's generation was. So like the boomers, Latino boomers are interesting. They fall into two.
What state are your parents from?
My mom is from Texas.
Oh, okay.
And so,
where's your dad
there.
from? What state in Mexico?
My dad's from Jalisco.
Jalisco.
Yeah, he came here in the late '60s. But his involvement was very kind of tertiary. He was not a very involved father. But my mom was pretty much the one that raised us.
Yeah,
but
same here.
Being raised by someone who was raised to say, no, you're an American first.
And my mom was from Honduras, and she came here when she was 7. But yeah, when I grew up, she had me when she was 19. But when I grew up, she was very, pardon. She still is like that, and she wanted to be just Americanized. She listened to Alanis Morissette and stuff like that, So I didn't know anything about, Honduras. I only got from my grandma, and then I was a Puerto Rican living around a bunch of Mexicans, so I didn't. I only learned more about Puerto Rican culture in college, right? And then more as I'm hanging out with Julio from Latino Rebels. But like,
my Latino education came via Gozamos. So that's when
a lot of my initial dive into Latino culture was Gozamos.
Yeah, that's when I got jumped in.
I mean, and how. That's what they would have said about us, right? That's what they would have said about us, right? That we don't really know that we are outsiders. But like, how are you outsider when you're completely Latino? I'm 100% Latino, right? So like, how are you outsider?
Well, it's a cultural thing, right? I mean, there's these cultural milestones that just weren't achieved. I don't know.
Do you ever feel like I feel inadequate in a lot of ways as a Puerto Rican, let's say. I feel inadequate as a Puerto Rican. I feel inadequate as a Honduran because I don't speak I don't speak Puerto Rican the way Puerto Ricans speak it, right? And I'm jealous, or I don't know certain things. I don't know certain songs. I married a Mexican, so a lot of my second half of my education came from just marrying her, and she's like, "You don't know that? You don't know what that is?" I'm like, "No, why? Where I'm from, bro?"
Yeah, they don't have it in Humboldt Park. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And yet you are launching Milwaukeño. I mean, so it's I hate to beat this, but it's interesting to me, right? Like that's interesting to me that you aren't your mom, right? You don't think that being American is the end all and be all. You're like, no, actually, no. I want to actually go back and lift up something that was dropped, maybe.
Yeah, no, I think it's important that one recognizes their roots and one knows a thing or two about that. It goes back to seeing where you're from and this whole like exploration of who you are as a family, but kind of on a broader sense. It's like, what does that exactly mean? What does being a Mexican in America mean? What is that experience, right? To be this kind of third party in this country that used to be our country.
No, I feel exactly the same way. I feel that's exactly the same thing that drives me. And I feel like that, but then I talk to a lot of people around me, especially Latinos, and they really don't have those questions. And it's like, that's crazy to me. That's crazy to me because that's what's like.
I think they're more secure in their Latino-ness. They're more secure in their
and I'm jealous of that in a way, right?
Yeah, exactly. I wish I grew up super ethnic, but I didn't, and this is me overcompensating.
No, but exactly right. It makes you the kind of person who would launch Milwaukeño, and it makes me the kind of person who would do a podcast or fucking. Isn't it? Isn't that what drives it? Right? Every time I meet somebody, I find out like, man, what drives that person? That person's like never tired. They're fucking ambitious as fuck. And then years or months or however long, it comes out that they have some fucking thing that they're overcompensating for. And I'm like, oh wow, so that's it. And it's crazy how a lot of people have that.
Mm-hmm. That's the human condition.
Yeah.
We try to fill the holes that we're all the diggers, man. We try to fill the
that's
holes
why because you like you're saying, you wish that you were more Latino or more Mexican, whatever. I wish I have a million wishes. I wish this and that, but then I also realized that it made me exactly who I am, and so I don't I can't imagine being anybody else.
Yeah,
and I don't want to.
Then you have that train of thought. You're like, well, if I was that much more ethnic, would I be me? Probably not. Not at all, actually. Would I even have been privy to the smaller amount of privilege that afforded me?
Right.
Just being this, Latino dude that speaks like I do. So, if I had an accent, how much different would my life be? If I was two shades browner.
Right. To wish exactly. To wish any of those things is like almost suicide. It's like a wish for suicide, right? It's a wish to not exist, because you would be somebody else, and so you wouldn't have these thoughts. You wouldn't be yourself. You wouldn't see the world the way you see it. Mm-hmm. I know that's maybe I'm a little drunk, a little high, but that shit fucking drives me insane. Because it's so interesting to me, right? And that people don't. It all goes back to like, why don't people care to learn about slavery? If you're an American, you have to know about slavery. You have to know about Jim Crow. You just have to. Like, I'm sorry, you want to know like why things are like. I don't understand how people can look around and see a ghetto on Southside Chicago or see a ghetto in LA and not wonder, okay, why is that area so bad? Why are all of them dark? How did that happen? Just start pulling on that thread.
A lot of people don't have that.
Well, no, you know what it is? I've been saying they don't have the time. Like, because if you're broke,
That's generous.
It's generous. I'll give you that. But if I know people who are just like, they're tired, man. They're tired. They have fucking rough jobs. They have kids. They got to do this, that, and the other. If you're a single mom, you're not gonna fucking be reading Camus on your spare time. You're not gonna be reading Camus right before bed. You want junk, but you reach for the junk.
But in 2020, you have access to the entire world's knowledge.
I was just saying that, like, thanks to YouTube, if you want to know how to do anything, if you really want to know how to do anything, you can do it.
So yesterday, my kitchen sink was clogged, and I'm no plumber. I was like, "Fuck! What am I supposed to do?" Yeah. So I YouTubed it, and I figured out how to take the damn thing apart and unclog it and do all these things. What would my life have been like in the 80s, in the 90s,
that scares the shit out of me, dude. Like, what if I had to be a real man? Like, what if I had to be a 50s man? I'm not. I would have been a fucking bum. I would have died fucking 27, looking like I was 80. Like no teeth or anything. What happened to him, man? He just he couldn't. He didn't know how to fucking unclog a sink.
Yeah. He was too friendly for the quarries.
I mean, so that's the other thing, right? You must feel inadequate as a man, like I do, right?
How dare you?
Well, I mean, you play rugby. That's why you play rugby, so you're more manly than I am. But like,
and what was that? What did that grow out of, though? What are these like rough and tumble impulses grow out of?
Yeah. So what does it mean to be a man?
I went from that to kickboxing. Is it because I'm inherently violent, or is it because I'm overcompensating because I'm a 5'8" dude?
How long you been kickboxing?
About 2 years. It's fun. It's great. It's fantastic.
I got a friend who's been telling me to do jiu-jitsu, and there's it's Vegas, so there's all kinds of MMA places here.
Yeah.
But one, I don't want to go by myself. How do you go by yourself?
Okay,
and just be like,
it's weird.
I want to learn how to defend myself.
Well, no, that's exactly it. You got to get over yourself and be like, this is a skill I want to acquire.
How hard is it to get over yourself?
For me, it took like driving my motorcycle to the gym a couple times. And
you got a fucking motorcycle?
I had to park in front, so they watched me. So it's like, all right, so this guy's adequately manly enough to do this.
Did you light a cigarette and then fucking immediately put it out?
I throw my leather jacket at the receptionist. No.
Here you go, broad.
Here, take this, toots. But yeah, no, it took, getting over yourself was hard. I think that's the other thing, right? So, for me, it was like, well, I was introduced by a buddy who it's a funny story actually. So I have a friend who does these insane things for his birthday. One year it was hiking 45 miles and then camping afterwards. So we hiked for 45 miles to these
How
crazy trails
when
and
did
we
you
were just
start
kind
on
of
the
beaten and
day?
broken.
You must have started really early.
6 a.m. Started on the trail.
Where was this at?
Got back. It was the Ice Age Trail in Wisconsin. So it's this huge, generally flat, but it's really great. It's this in the Kettle Moraine region. So it's called the Ice Age Trail because it was formed by glacial movements. So at the end of this day, I'm just kind of sitting in this chair. It's glad to be sitting. It's kind of just my body's still buzzing because I just walked for 45 miles. Like, Jesus, what the fuck, man? It's November, so it wasn't actually nice out. Sitting in front of this fire, sipping some whiskey.
November in Wisconsin. Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah. And so my buddy's wife is like, "Hey, aren't you gonna ask him?" I was like, "What the fuck, Grant?" Grant I barely talked to at this point. He's like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Hey, do you wanna? I've been doing this kickboxing. Would you be interested?" I was like, "Fuck it, why not?" And so
Well,
it was easier.
that's good though, right? Because like he's gonna take you, right? And so he's asking you, and what are you gonna fucking be a bitch and say like no? You can't say no to him right there. You're gonna be like, dude. I would have done the same thing. I'd have been like, but because one, I'm not opposed to kickboxing, and I want to learn how to fucking do something like that. And so you're like, yeah. But there's a part of you that's like, but in that situation, you're like, yeah, fuck it. That's a beautiful way to do it.
And then I enjoyed it. And then I sparred for the first time, and I got kicked so hard in the balls that I puked. And that's before I realized that you're supposed to wear a cup.
Protect your balls, man. See, I mean, these are things that I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have known to do that, right?
I was just in a t-shirt and shorts and in my gloves and my shin guards. And they're like, all right, well, we're going to spar now. Do you want in? And I was like, sure. It was my first time sparring, and they're doing 2-minute rounds. And then suddenly you're comfortable getting hit in the face. And suddenly you're comfortable just hitting and hitting back. Because the first time you hit someone,
it's fucking weird. Or to get hit in the face.
Well, I think it was because I've been hit. All right, I can take a hit. This is rugby because I started with rugby, and I was like, all right, I can get hit. This is fine. I can anticipate this. But to actually hit someone in an effective way
kind of goes against who you thought you were, right?
Exactly. You have to turn off this entire gentlemanly impulse that you have to be like, all right, this is impolite. I shouldn't be hitting someone. What the fuck? What am I, some sort of beast? And then you get hit in the face 2 more times, and you're like, fuck it. And then it snaps. And then you need to control this wild beast that escapes. And then afterwards you're hanging out, and it's the greatest catharsis ever. And then the adrenaline rush.
Do this. I mean, now,
Hector, you would love it.
No, I know. That's the thing. I know I would, but that I have to get over myself, 1. 2, to go by myself, and where do I go here?
Okay, here's my tip for you. So don't go to an MMA gym, because that's just the bro zone layer, and that's all. I'm glad that this place I went to wasn't that vibe. It was just people who like.
I mean, I would think that those MMA people are like that too, but they're actually pretty chill. I mean, from what I know, I've met a few, and they're not here, but they're chill. They smoke, they're chill. Nevada's a legal state, so everybody's about it, man.
But in their environment, in their bro zone,
savages.
So I'd recommend going somewhere that just focuses on one practice.
A female class.
So if you want to. Sure. Oh, that was the other thing. So it was a mixed class, and so
you've punched a woman in the face.
I punched
that gentlemanliness went right out the fucking window, man. Jesus Christ, man! Now you're hitting women.
It was 7. It was 7 people, and it was rotating partners, obviously. So you did 2-minute rounds with everyone in the class, which is exhausting. 2 minutes is the longest 2 minutes. So I'd go somewhere with just a single practice. So they're not trying to upsell you on oh, you're doing the jiu-jitsu class? Here, why not try this too? Why not try this too? Pick a practice
Drink the
and do it.
shake.
Yeah, yeah. Don't buy any other fucking gear. Don't wear the stupid t-shirts. Just go for your fitness. Go for your mental sanity.
How often
We'll
do
pick
you go
one
a week?
practice. Twice. Yeah.
Which
well, not
days?
it's
Which days?
Rona. Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yeah, I mean, is Rona bumming you out with that? I mean,
Yeah, well, I put up a heavy bag in my garage. That's kind of fun. It's not the same, but
yeah.
it doesn't punch back.
I mean, yeah. The other thing, the good thing about, I mean, I guess we can end on this. I mean, the good thing about the Rona is that you realize all the things that you should have been doing when you were able to fucking congregate and fucking go to jiu-jitsu classes or whatever the fuck, you know? And now I feel like, how do you think the end of the lockdown is going to go? I mean, obviously some people are going to stay in. No people are going to be afraid. But I feel like I'm going to be like more out there. Like I'm going to be like, because the way I feel like either I'm going to get sick, I'm going to get it. I think I've gotten it. I think I got it like a month ago. I've got
a coworker who lives in Vegas. Her husband got it, and then she got it, and then they got over it, and then they gave it to their nanny. It's crazy. So
they were having a threesome with a nanny.
Duh. How else is it spread?
No, but I think I had it in March. Like I had, I was all fucking congested, and I had a headache for like 2 or 3 days, and then it was gone. Like mid-March. But the other thing is like, I'm trying to take precautions, but I'm not like fucking super. I'm not gonna become Howie Mandel. I'm not fucking. I don't walk around with Purell, any of that shit. So like, I think when the lockdown ends, like I'm gonna want to go out and like, I'm gonna be, I'm not gonna be licking people's faces or shit like that. But like, you know what I mean?
Say that now. Other people. Let's see, because we're doing a lot of forward planning for work. And I anticipate that this isn't going to go away until at least we're not going to see anything resembling normal until the fall.
And even in the fall, we're expecting a second wave, right?
Yeah. So it's going to be a slow rollout to normality in the build up to summer, probably. So we're going to see limited growth, probably state by state. We're still going to see some depressed economic figures, but there's going to be this sense of false hope. So there's going to be a boost in consumer spending, very short term, and then people are going to realize, well, oh shit, my money's not going as far as it used to. I don't have a job anymore. This furlough is taking longer than we anticipated. It's not going to be a really pretty outlook at all for a very long time. For at least 2 to 3 years. Yeah. Until we're back to normal.
And it's crazy. It's kind of eerie to watch everybody around us like not make that realization. Like, oh, they think maybe by June, maybe by July we'll be back. No, things are different now.
No. Yeah, everyone thinks that they're going to wake up and it's going to be all done. Okay, go out and play now, guys. It's not going to be pretty. There's going to be way more deaths than we think.
How's Wisconsin handling it? I mean, how many cases? I mean, how many deaths?
I think. I could pull up the number somewhere on the computer because I do track it. I have to track it daily. It's in the thousands. Deaths are in the hundreds, I think, at this point.
How do you think I mean, I think Nevada did really well, man, with the fucking lockdown. We shut down the Strip. I mean, if we could do that, any state could do anything.
That goes. Any state's a very broad statement, and any state requires buy-in from generally the states that we've seen that have done better. Generally, have more progressive-leaning politicians at the helm.
I was gonna say. I mean, I'm not a party man, but we have a Democratic Republican. We have a Democratic governor. We have 2 female Democratic senators. One is a Latina. We have women in charge of our state legislature, at the heads of it, Speaker of the House and shit like that. So, I mean, and they're all Democrats. So
yeah. I mean, we have that's a stark reality. Let's look at what partisanism can do to a state. So, Wisconsin, obviously, we saw this debacle real time countrywide. You know, the whole spotlight was on us with this election, and that's what happens when you have a super partisan. You have two very partisan bodies. You have a Democrat governor and a super Republican legislative body. The response times, everything turns into a tick for tack jab, and so nothing gets done. And so you have these Koch funded fucking morons.
Cokeheads.
Cokeheads. Yeah, we call them cokeheads, right? They don't know shit from Shinola. Oh God,
But they do know. That's the thing. That's you're giving them a pass. They do know. They don't fucking care, man.
I've never wanted to physically assault someone so hard as when I see Scott Fitzgerald on the fucking television.
Who's Scott Fitzgerald?
The most punchable. He's head of
the Great Gatsby, right?
Yeah, that's Scott Fitzgerald, that guy. I just want to hit him in the fucking mouth. Or is it Scott Fitzgerald? It's something. I always refer to him as Shitsterald, so I forgot his first name. Could be Scott, or maybe because he was with Scott Walker. I don't know. He's the head of one of the legislative bodies. He's just such a fucking piece of shit. Yeah, so I mean, we see these responses that are staggered and uneven because of this partisanism, and then we see there were successes on the West Coast. So we have this block of super progressive states like Washington, Oregon, California, and Nevada, who have seen flattening of curves, who've seen just general positive responses in response to this. People take it seriously because, people aren't worried about their fucking Bibles and not worried about going to church every day.
We had some of that, but not too much.
Yeah, it's really obnoxious. It's really obnoxious.
I mean,
but anyway, so we're going to see in real time that a lot of people are going to die because republicanism. It's a death cult.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's crazy to see that the motherfuckers who were talking about death panels are now like, we can let like everybody over 55 die, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And the motherfuckers saying it are in the age group. Like, we can let everybody. Like, do you know they're not even that. They're not even self-aware.
No.
A deer is self-aware, but like they're not self-aware, they don't know that they're talking about them, that they're in that age group. But that's the hubris, right? Like they don't.
Here's the one positive thing about it: the coronavirus, COVID-19 strand, is that there's no like super moneyed cure for it. So even if you're super wealthy, you can die from it, and hopefully that resonates with a lot of people. Resonates with a lot of not me. I'm a millionaire senator called Mitch McConnell. This can't affect me.
And they're going to know people who die from it or themselves, right? And the other good thing is that I think people are seeing that, and I've said this before, that like, the federal government ain't worth shit. What the fuck is Congress is on recess? There's a global pandemic and they're on recess, right? They're not worth shit. So you see what's going to happen at the end of May or even or at the beginning of May is that Trump's going to be like, open up. And the progressive states going to be like, fuck you, And that's going to be like a mini rebellion. That's going to be like a mini revolution. Like, you know what? Fuck you. Fuck Congress. Fuck the White House. Fuck the Supreme Court. In the progressive states, we're taking care of our own. Fuck you guys. California should secede, man. What the fuck this, man?
So there's a lot of speculation. There's always this undertone of speculation in our lovely country about secession and the next
California's like the fifth or seventh largest economy in the world?
Eighth. And people always assume it's going to come from like a super right-wing state.
Right,
Kansas, Mississippi. I think it's going to come from more progressive states saying, you know what, guys?
If you're a conservative state, why would you leave?
Have fun. Enjoy your disease pool. Fuck off. Yeah,
I can see California. I mean, I'm sure California, Oregon, and Washington are looking at each other like, motherfuckers, time to get the fuck out of here.
Do this. And fuck, if that's the case, call me Captain
Nevada's gonna be
Seattle.
like, hey, we're going too, man. Fuck.
Yeah, right.
Hold up. Let me get my jacket.
Wait for me.
Hey, wait for me, man. All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on, man. And
yeah, pleasure. I enjoyed this. It's great to chat. Yeah.
And on a side note, I'd love to publish some shit from fucking Milwaukeño. Send me something that you think.
Su casa. Mi casa, su casa, man.
For sure. I mean, I only wish I lived in Milwaukee that I can fucking. I mean, would you accept something from me that I wrote, or I mean, you guys are. but on your website, you're like, if you're from Milwaukee and you have a fuck, I'm like, nigga, I'm not. I lived on Milwaukee Avenue.
There you go.
There you go, man. I'm a fucking Milwaukeño from fucking Milwaukee and Armitage.
We'll see. I'm surprised it's not a gang at this point. What's up?
Right. Yeah. Right.
Anyway, yeah.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Glad to hear it. Or glad to accept.
Everything's going good with your family and shit.
Yeah, everyone's still alive.
Do you know anybody who's gotten sick?
Well, apart from my coworker now.
It's crazy, and you're only going to hear more of it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, when are they saying it's going to peak in Wisconsin? I mean, here they're saying at the end of May it's going to peak in Nevada.
I haven't seen that. Mostly, I haven't really looked at that yet. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to happen in Milwaukee because we're underserved, and there's a lot of poor people here. And there's lots of deaths. It's going to continue to kill a bunch of African Americans.
Do you think
really,
Medicare for all would have made everything better if we had Medicare for all system going in? Not now. I mean, now we got to launch the motherfucker, right? But if we had it going in.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
people point at Italy and they say, look, they have universal health care. They haven't done shit, but they're also half like privatized. They have the public option, right? So like, it's not full.
I mean, so
healthcare.
No, it's not Britain. It's not Norway.
Right.
I think so. When you have a populace who is used to this free access to healthcare, you see the loss of these consternation-based self-abuses, right? So if you know you can see a doctor, you're not going to have to pay $5,000 to see a doctor. If you have a bit of a cough, you're probably going to go to the doctor to get it treated, right?
Yeah.
So if you have all these, just these barriers just psychologically blocking you.
Well, there's a lot of people who were raised middle class and above. They don't know, like, I was raised, first time I dated this rich girl in high school, and, she went to the doctor for every fucking little thing, if she had if her little toe felt weird, she'd go to the fucking doctor and get antibiotics, I'm like, in my house, you don't go to the doctor unless a fucking leg has fallen off, not falling off.
Yeah.
Well, you go to the doctor when it fell off, motherfucker.
Yeah. And if we had a system that was more open to more people, then, that attitude wouldn't be so pervasive. And so the fatality rate would be completely
and put
lower.
us all at risk, right? I mean, we're living in a society where there's millions of people who can't access healthcare, and we have to interact with them. So that makes put us all at risk.
Yeah.
Anyways, man, thanks for coming on, man. Let people know how they can find you on social media and all that stuff, and tell them the website.
You can find me at I'm on Twitter at C Squared. Where am I at C Squared? Where am I?
Yeah, you are at C Squared.
C Squared. You can find me at Milwaukeño.com. Actually spelled Milwaukeño.com because search engines are racist and Angles don't go everywhere. So Milwaukeño.com. Look out for more content. Follow Milwaukeño on Twitter. Just spelled phonetically Milwaukeño. That's where you can find me.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Good to see you, man. Stay healthy, stay sane, man, and I'll keep in touch, man.
You too. Be well.